overcome last year?
So many things.
Can't even.
Well, I think one of the biggest things, if you think about it, we went through all these different months where every single month felt like it was a year.
No, this is true, and yeah, it was the hustle and grind, wasn't it? I think the first 6 months, if I remember correctly, it was the hustle and grind of, the team's in and they're doing their bits, but the reality is every single month, the salary bill came, and we had to make sure that we hustled to make sure that was covered every month.
You go back and you think, well, we were in a tiny little box office. I think actually twice the size of this sofa, if you're lucky, which is hilarious that we're still sat here when we almost had 2 desks looking at each other, and we managed to get 4 people in there. And that was a year ago today, pretty much, that we started that through, because we had it all the way through to January, February. And
one of those,
every single month.
Yeah.
So we're now, 24 people? So within 12 months, if you just break that down, that's 1 or 2 people every month that we have.
Which is bananas, really, if you think about it. If you look, that tiny little shoebox office, which obviously in shared office space, which at the time, I remember us looking at the lease going, God, this is so expensive. How are we going to afford it? How are we going to sort this out? How are we going to sort that out? And then bringing in Joe, bringing in Jamie, early doors last year, and saying, listen, guys, we need you in to try and help us alleviate some pressure and help us grow. And then from there, if you think of where we are now, it's insane.
I think when now looking back, and when we think, I think every day is doomsday, because I'm not the negative one, but it's you have to have someone that's trying to be the realist, the real nitty gritty bits. And every time I look back and go, well, actually, just because we're struggling this month, we've made the struggle on ourselves because we've put that growth on without taking investment.
Yeah.
So I think if we had investment, then people would, and that's where I think businesses go wrong. They take investment thinking, oh, now they can relax. Now they've got that. And we almost did that as a slight mistake at some point in the last couple of months, which we can't really talk about, but that was almost what we were going to do. And then being able to sit back and go, oh, wait a minute, I don't need to hustle anymore. I don't need to do this. And you're right. You do the best work when your back's up against it, when you've got everything to lose.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that, with enough pressure, you can create something fantastic. And, you get rid of the pressure, you take, as you say, a lot of companies, when they take the investment, you get rid of all the pressure. And all of a sudden, that money just seems to drain through the fingers. And, it worries me.
I love this. The more pressure you put in, you can create diamonds. You see?
Yeah, very, very cheesy. Very cheesy. But it's true, though. I mean, if you think, we do our best work whenever, especially when we're coming closer towards the end of the month. Always got your one eye on the wage bill and got your one eye on the performance of the team, or how many deals are sold, how much revenues do you in, how many referrals are done. You always have one eye on that, but you get to the last couple of weeks or the last week of the month, and you have that moment where you're like, oh, okay, have we got enough? And if you haven't, you're going, okay, I need to make some calls. I need to do a little bit of extra hustle than I would normally do throughout the rest of the month.
Yeah, I think if you look at the structure, if you go back to what, so we've hustled in a different way. When people talk about hustling, it's about innovating. It's about trying to figure out what your quick wins, what the medium wins are, and long term. And we now do this with the sales team. Is you can't just think that you're going to make a call and business is going to be done. Now, some people can do that, and some people can get that organised within one call. But what you really need to do is nurture the medium and the long term. And you look back about where we were in January last year, and we had some naysayers that were going, oh, we don't need to work with you, we don't need to do this. And instead of us going, oh, well, screw that, see you later, we go, well, we went, tell you what, we're not right for this yet, but I guarantee you, if we believe in the journey that we're taking and what we're doing, that they'll come back on later on. And that's what's happened. Yeah. So now we look back and you go, in the last 6 months, some of the white labels that have joined us, some of the partnerships and the referral schemes, and now, instead of us going to people's offices, which I have to say is one of the craziest things I had to see recently, people come to us.
Yeah,
they're wanting to knock clients on the door and go, oh, wait a minute, let's have a conversation here. I hear and I can see you've been spoken about, and we keep coming across you guys now, and we thought you weren't going to make it.
Yeah, it's
so yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean
that's a real. You got to appreciate that. No, wake up in the morning and go, whoa.
And I think the other thing is, when we were first having these conversations. I mean, if you think literally right at the beginning of the year, we were in a shared office, right? Basically, it's like an open area where people go and sit down, almost like a cafe, obviously paid for. and that's where we were having meetings. And of course, the people would come in and they would see this. And then you come into now, and they come into our office now. And obviously, we've got this big space here in Victoria. We've got 24, 25 people working there pretty much every single day. It's buzzing. I mean, it just changes the credibility.
As Richard already first alluded to, we were just the two of us with the lettings team. I think that's the thing. We did have the lettings already. We had Mary, Marie, and your mum, who's been a rock for both of us. Yeah. I think she's now got another son. She didn't need one. But we already had the lettings team, and then I think it was October 2023 through to December. He started in December, which was Joe.
Yeah. Yeah, Joe joined us for the first month, and then Jamie joined the month after. Yeah. And obviously, Joe you'd worked with before over at Vesta, been training him for years, and Joe's been, amazing. I have to say, and then Jamie, who I'd been coaching for a little while, who's a coaching client, and brought him in, and also he's been fantastic. Yeah. So he obviously joined us in December, didn't he?
Yeah, December. He's yes, and then he didn't actually start in the office till January, February. But you look back, those two, 25 and 21, which I didn't know he was that young, to be honest with you. But it's one of those things from an HR perspective, you never say if they're good enough for the job. But whoa, God, the way they've held themselves and the way that they've grown, I actually think they've probably grown quicker and further than we've done in a year, which is crazy to say. But I think that's the testament to the team with how everybody's had to evolve, and I believe it's the right thing of bringing the right people in. So we've had a couple of road bumps and speed bumps along the way where they're now not involved with us, because we had one or two guys in May that we almost said yes to, and then started for a week or two, and then we decided it just
wasn't a good fit. Yeah, which is going to happen.
Is that a cultural thing?
I think it was more about trying to bring people in and trying to get the person to fit the role, as opposed to the role being a natural fit for the person.
Yeah, and also when you're as small as when we started, and we're a startup at that point, it's a family. It's that cohesive nature. You need to be able to roll up and roll up your sleeves and understand and just make things happen. And if you don't, then you're a corporate world, which is not a problem. But if you're having to be flexible where we've not got systems, we didn't have anything else going through, you need to figure out what your job is. And instead of just sitting there waiting for a task, you have to be that type of person.
I think at the same time, I think it was probably a little bit unfair on them, because if you look at who we've obviously got Joe and Jamie, who are both very capable of just being flexible and just getting stuff done as and when stuff needs to be done. Bringing somebody else in who's more used to the corporate life, where they have structure, they have guidance, they have a roadmap of everything they need to do, and trying to get them to fit into essentially a startup mentality was, it's always going to be a tough ask. And I just think, when they came in, they had a view of what they needed to do, and the reality, there was no structure. They had to kind of build a structure.
We needed to build foundations, and if you don't have strong foundations, then you can't build a big gigantic house, which is what we do. So I think you have to get those right. We were lucky. I think there is some point of having that luck of and Richard's faces being all over for doing so many events and everything else, that we had enough people wanting to join us at that early stage to take that risk in, so that it wasn't just luck, it was also the people we knew and them at the right stage of our lives.
Yeah, fostered, nurtured relationships, as you discussed earlier. So.
But then going from that, we went from the 5 of us to needing some structure within the male lads that were in the office.
Yeah,
so
some process.
Some processes and lots of other things. So Monica came in July.
Yeah, so we just increased the office size, didn't we? So we went from a little 2-man office that we squeezed 4 people into, I think we moved into a 5-man office that we ended up squeezing 8 into.
Yep.
So needless to say, it was very tight, very, very personal. But so Monica, I think, was the first proper joiner that stayed and stuck it out. And honestly,
who is now wearing about 7 different hats. She started off, and I think the role was to help us out from a HR, EA,
HR and processes.
All of these things, and now I think she wears about 6 different hats, which is a testament to what she's done and how much I think she's changed her role title about 6 different times over the course of the last 6 months.
She's proved herself invaluable, right? She picks up, and I think one of the biggest criteria when we brought her on was, look, we just need a safe pair of hands, somebody that can just help us alleviate some of the pressure, so we can focus on growing the business as opposed to having to deal with a lot of the day-to-day and operations. And she managed to come in. She's sort of helping run the team, which is fantastic. She's running us, if I'm honest, like our day to day. She sort of, you know, without her, I think we'd probably fall over pretty damn quick.
Yeah, and then we had Marta because we needed to get more admin from the listing side because we went from doing 5 or 10 listings a month to 40 in the last month. That's not even the ones that don't come on. So I think there must be about 100 valuations being done a month.
Yeah, it's insane, really.
So yeah, so she again has come in and really helped from an admin point of view. Then we had. So that was last year. We then also took on, obviously we do refurbs around the country and we needed project managers and eyeballs on the properties that we see.
Yep.
So we already had Taro on the books, but he came on full time, I think in August?
Yeah, September. August,
September. Mark in the Northeast, Mark Shrub, and now Sam Bailey.
Yeah, in the Midlands, which
is Midlands as of this year. So that's the 3 in the refurb teams.
Yep. We expanded lettings. Obviously, we already had Marie, Mary. Well, I think Marie was running deal progression, wasn't she?
Yes, she was, yeah.
And then we've moved Marie out of deal progression, moved her into lettings. Tia's now doing all of the maintenance bits and pieces, so she's running all of that, which is, I mean, the lettings team's running exceptionally well. I'm very, very excited with what they're doing, you know, sort of a natural bolt-on to what we do. So expanded there, and I think, was it from there, we've obviously got Slade in now. He comes and runs FI, which is
our fund,
our own
property
fund.
buying.
He's excellent. And then we've put on. We've also brought in some salespeople, which is awesome. So we've got Sam, Damon, Danish, and Andrea.
Yep.
And honestly, they've done very well. So I think their first month, which was January, they did 196 cross referrals, which, you know, if you actually work back the numbers on that, it's unbelievable actually for the first month.
Exactly. And then obviously we grew so big at that point and we realized we actually needed someone that spoke our language and then helped us out, and we needed a COO. So Ellis ended up joining us, and whether he liked it or not, ended up becoming that role. And we knew we wanted him. It was more of how do we get him? And then in October, November, Ellis joined us and has actually helped us.
He's all right.
Yeah, he's all right, geezer.
He joined us under the proviso of running marketing and visibility and stuff. And the reality is, you very quickly realise, you know, cream rises. I'm a big believer in business and in life. Cream rises. Yeah. Ellis sort of showed himself the penchant to be able to run a team very efficiently, very effectively, and obviously having such a wide range of sales experience as well.
I think that shows you from everybody's perspective. Everybody's figured out what the next level above them can be if they want it.
Yeah.
Whether that's Ellis, whether that's Monica, that's even Joe and Jamie. And now, obviously, both of them are trying to run their own companies.
Yeah, their own
departments.
Departments.
And I think being able to, one of the great things we've tried to do is say, well, we want you to be better. The better than everybody else does, then the better the company does.
Correct.
The whole My Property group will do better.
Our plan for last year was, well, we want to get X number of listings, we want to get X number of white label partners, X number of sales, which, I mean, we actually beat all barring, I think, one of our goals, which was to get £1 billion worth of listings, which, if I'm honest, is a bit of an overreach.
It was a moonshot.
Yeah, it was definitely a bit of an
Mars
overreach.
shot, actually. I think probably. I think before we do the 2025 goals, is looking back about what we set our 2024 goals. We only had it as My Property listing and the white labels and the trust breaks. We only thought about it in the day was to create the marketplace, to create the tech that allowed those two together.
Yeah.
And if I'm honest, we said, well, we'd love to do some referrals within that, which was brokerage, lawyers,
and lettings.
Some lettings.
Yeah.
That was it. And that was what we thought was a huge, even I remember you putting it on the whiteboard and we both going, ooh, I think that's a bit ambitious.
It's a big reach.
That's a big reach, but just having those 3 or 4.
Yeah, and the goal was by the end of the year to hit 30 sales in a month, which, we flew past, which is, I mean, it's absolutely bananas. If you look at our actual sales goals for the year, they were fantastic. You know, in comparison to what, you know, obviously putting it up on the board is one of those moments you're like, you know, if we get close, we'll be happy. But I mean, I think if we look at what we actually delivered, the number of sales we did, the revenue generated last year was insane.
Yeah.
Considering where we started at the beginning of the year.
I think it's always hard with what we're doing. So the 2025 goals, well, I think, you know, we've had to be realistic and also not realistic. It's saying, well, if you don't set unrealistic targets, you've got nothing to strive towards.
Correct.
But I don't think there's many other products. I think now we've got
Well, we've got, what, 15 products now that we're cross-selling?
15 products, obviously some of the partnerships, some are internal.
Yeah.
But the point is that refining what they do to ensure that those as an ecosystem work together.
Yeah.
So I think, there are some big headlines for us. There's probably bridge lending this year.
So launching our own bridging company. That's exciting.
Yeah. A buying company for
We Buy Any Home
style company that will be coming off. It's a natural fit with the type of leads we're already getting.
Yeah.
And the marketing, as you said, we haven't done marketing spend. So actually being able to put all of it together and actually get the word out there to help each of them, I think that's probably one of our goals.
I mean, if you consider last year, we started with 30 white label partners. We ended with 230, 240. And that's all organic growth. So there was no marketing spend. There was no going to market. There was no big publications. No big events. I think we had one or two smaller events just within our small network. If you then look at what we managed to do organically, and obviously the initial outset, we were lining up white label partners and listing partners from our own black book, right? And now starting to get into a point where those partners, they're leveraging their network.
Absolutely.
And obviously, we're training them and coaching them on how to do that. But they're starting to bring in partners, and they're starting to bring in extra listings, and they're getting a lot more sales. And the number of sales and volume of sales and business that we're having to do, like personally, is so little in comparison. So we get to focus on developing and growing the business, growing the platform, growing the technology, growing the education piece so that they can get better trained on what they're doing.
That's what we put into ourselves in 2024, realizing that your brand and your net worth is what you bring from it, your network.
Yeah.
And actually it's being able to leverage that. And that's how we've taught those white labels to actually understand is all the clients are all at their fingertips.
Yep.
Now, I get it. Everybody wants to talk about the LinkedIn, the socials, and how to get it. That's the bigger funnel. But really, in their own phone book, and I remember you saying this to other people, and I do it without even thinking about it, you've got those 10 people in that phone book to be able to pull up and say, when I really need to do a deal, who do I need to do?
Yep.
Even if it's friends. And if you're doing it right and explaining what that is, you've got that in your fingertip, and you're literally in your pocket.
Yep.
So I think what we've managed to do is trying to get in an easy, palatable way within white label is to try to help people build their own businesses off their own net worth and their own network. And the tech is getting there to help them to do it better. Some people get it more than others, but yeah.
It comes back to that whole 6 degrees of separation, doesn't it? So if you think, now white label partners are introducing other white label partners and they're expanding their network and they're generating revenues from their network that's busy bringing in business. And it's starting to create that really nice snowball effect as a business, where if you consider how hard we had to hustle on the day-to-day business at the beginning of last year in comparison to the end of last year, where we're pretty much entirely focused on either the fund or just developing the technology and the processes and building the team and building the structures in terms of what we're doing. And now we're in a position where 2025 we've gone, okay, well, we want 1,000 white label partners, which again it's a big reach from where we started. We're going, okay, well, we want 1 billion of listings on the platform. Now we're at about 300 million, 400 million. Plus, we're just about to bring in all the auction houses, the online auction houses. We should easily exceed that, which is great. The number of properties under management, I think we said we want 500 by the end of the year. We got
to 400 at the end of last year, and we knew that that's part of the business that we're going to work on in 2025 is that scalability of actually sorting out far more processes. It's not a sexy or easy company to do, and I think that's probably one of our hardest ones. It's the most there is nothing profitable in management of properties, but I think it's the most that we get so many cross referrals and to help landlords on the worst part of what they want to do in property, which is managing it. So by taking that out, then it'll really help what we do this year.